You're listening to Not If, But How, the Mission Society podcast, dedicated to helping you discover your call through stories, tips, and news from our missionaries and Christian leaders around the globe.
Today I'm speaking with Nick Griffiths, the newest family to join the Mission Society, and really what they're looking at is to approach some of the clean water issues in rural Kenya. Nick, thanks so much for being with us today on Mission Network News.
Thank you. It's my pleasure to be with you.
Right now you are on deputation to get ready to go onto the field. You're hoping to hit that early next year. What area of Kenya are you looking at? Because when people talk about Kenya, you don't really think of it in terms of needing the clean water the way that some of the other more arid areas do. So what area are you guys looking at helping?
As far as clean water goes, there's three major areas that we're looking into. One of the areas that we're going to plug in with is in Kibera, which is in the slums of Nairobi. There's an existing ministry there where our mission partner has already started. They've got some local men that used to be gang members, actually, that are helping now to bring water to the local people in Kibera. Now, the problem is that they're getting their water from creeks and streams and things like that, so it's untreated, it's unfiltered. And where we'd like to plug in is in the sense of helping out by filtering the water. So not only are they bringing people fresh, clean drinking water, but these young men are also being ministered and discipled to. So bringing the water to the different people in Kibera and also bringing the living water of Jesus Christ. The other areas that we're looking into, one is near Lake Baringo, and it's a local tribe called the El Chamas, and the El Chamas get their water directly from Lake Baringo, and we had a chance to visit with them. This is a recently reached group that is being ministered to by some of the local pastors, and we had a chance to go meet the people. They're very excited about having a church built in their community, and what our hope there is to actually pull some water out of there, filter it, and give them a clean source of water. And what we're going to model is actually a setup that the Mission Society has already done in Samburu area, where they used an existing reservoir, pulled some water out of there, set a filter, and set a tank for the clean water. And adjacent to the tank, they set a pastor's house. So when people come to get the clean water, and there's about 2,000 families in the Samburu area that use it, they have an opportunity to meet the pastor and, again, get ministered to and get introduced to the living water of Jesus Christ. So those are the three main areas where we'll be focusing on the clean water.
So Kibera in the slums, Lake Baringo, and what was the third one?
The Samburu area. In years past, when the British were in Kenya, they put in several different small reservoirs. And what we're hoping to do is go in and in the area where the reservoirs are, take that and start filtering it. And that's kind of spread out in the whole Samburu area.
As you're looking at the needs that are in Kenya, I mean, it seems like there's sort of a veneer over the way things are run in Kenya, that you have the haves and then you have the really have-nots, and it doesn't take much to go from one to the other. How does clean water address community development?
When people don't have clean water available, their general health is just not what it should be. It's not what we're used to seeing. They will spend a majority of their life with, dysentery and things like that, with just not having the strength that they need to be able to do work that they can do to help, further their families and feed their families and things like that. So basically, by being able to provide clean water, you can strengthen the entire community. In fact, the area where the Mission Society has already put in the filter in Samburu, it's my understanding that that general population, their health has increased substantially just since that filter was put in. I believe it was 2 years ago. So there's really been a very successful program so far, and our goal is to replicate that and keep moving forward with it.
So you're coming alongside pastors that have already established and invested in the community there. It seems like, because of these rural areas or areas that can't really get a hold of replacement parts, that the filter itself would have to be portable and lightweight enough to traverse some of the more difficult terrain and not have a lot of moving parts. What kind of filter system do you guys use?
What they've used in this Samburu, and there's several different kinds, so, it's kind of one of those, we will go into each area and see what the best fit is. But the one that they have is a simple sand filter with a backwash chamber and coronation. And in my house in Georgia, we had basically the same kind of filter, but on a much smaller scale. It's not very complicated, and then what they've done is they set a pump and have set solar panels so that, there's no need to run power. It's all basically self-sufficient. The biggest thing is the chemicals that you have to add, and that's not very expensive. And one of the things that was very neat with the one that they have set up is when they ran out of the chlorine that they needed, the local community came to the pastor and asked, where do we get more of this chlorine? Which was great because, they were taking ownership of the filtration system and the clean water and things like that. And that way, the community, as a whole will be taking care of it, rather than it being the responsibility of, people stateside and things like that. So that was a huge thing.
You've mentioned the way that these projects open the door for ministry, but what is your chief job when you arrive in Kenya? What are you planning on doing, and how will this be done?
We will be coming alongside existing pastors that are in Kenya already working, with the local tribes and the local people. And the reason for that is because that way it's just a lot easier to move forward in the sense that knowing the customs and things like that, that's just not something that we'll be familiar with. And what we'll be doing is going and talking where we can about Jesus and getting that message across of why we're there, which is to show the love of Jesus Christ. On the more technical side, we will be helping these different communities to figure out ways to clean their water. And then my wife is an EMT, so she'll be coming alongside with community health evangelism and setting up medical clinics and things like that. Temporary ones at first, and hopefully getting some long-term ones as we go along.
So why did you look at Kenya?
Well, that's an interesting question. When we went to the Mission Society, we really didn't have any plans or any thoughts of where we would want to go. We went and we just said, look, we're putting our yes on the table and let God lead us where it is that He wants us. And after about a week of prayer and discernment, Kenya kind of kept coming up. Obviously, as a civil engineer, I felt a call to clean water, but it was something where going in and setting wells, it just wasn't something that seemed like it was necessarily what I was going to be called to do. And then while we were there, we heard about this project that they have in Samburu where they're using the existing reservoirs. I'm more of a hydrologist, which is surface runoff and things like that. So once we heard about this area in Samburu where they were using the existing reservoirs, that just seemed to speak to me. And then as we got further into it, it just started to become more and more obvious. And then we had our vision trip, had a chance to go and meet the local ministry partners. And once we did that, everything, God just starts lining everything up. So it's one of those things that we weren't sure at first, but as we move forward, it became more and more obvious.
What are the greatest challenges that you think you'll be encountering next year so people can pray for you?
At this point right now, we are in our fundraising portion. So obviously we need prayer partners, long-term funding so that we can move forward. And then as far as once we're deployed, learning the language, building relationships so that we can help in discipling and things of that nature and understanding the customs so that we can move through. And you want to do things as friendly and God-honoring as possible. So that would be definitely some prayer concerns that I have.
And again, we're speaking with Nick Griffiths, who's he and his wife and son are planning on being the newest members of the Mission Society's team in Kenya. Again, they're still in the process of getting things wrapped up here so that they can be actually on the field in the beginning of 2013. If you want to know more about what kind of work Mission Society does in Kenya, check it out through the website. It's themissionsociety.org. That's themissionsociety.org, and you can also see a profile of the Griffiths family. Nick, thanks so much for being with us today.
Well, thank you for inviting us.
And I'm Ruth Kramer with Mission Network News.
Thank you for listening. Remember, it's not a matter of if you're called, but how. For more information on the Mission Society and how we can help you learn, give, go, pray, or connect, please visit us at our website at www.themissionsociety.org. And while you're there, subscribe to Unfinished, our free quarterly magazine.